So we're going to continue in the light summary. Al-Mukhtasar Al-Lateef by Imam Abdullah ibn Abdir-Rahman Baafadl. Al-Hadramiyy. Al-Hadramiyy meaning from Hadramaut, which is a town in Yemen. It is said that that's where Prophet Hud is buried, in Hadramaut. But only the graves of two prophets is known with 100% definitive certainty. The graves of Prophet Muhammad and Prophet Abraham. The graves of other prophets are not known with the same certainty, some to more degree of confidence than others. Some we are more confident about that being their graves than others, but only Muhammad and Abraham, we know 100% the sites of their graves. All right, so last time we talked about the invalidators of wudu. Where is Prophet Ibrahim buried? He's buried in a place called Khalil or Al-Khalil. That's in Palestine. I don't know if there's an Al in the name of the town. Al-Khalil or just Khalil. You're welcome. Now we want to talk about the things that you cannot do without wudu, without purification. Here, the author, he separated this from other cases of things you can't do without purification. Meaning, usually there's just one section in the books of Fiqh, what you cannot do if you need wudu, what you cannot do if you are sexually impure, what you cannot do if you have menstruated until you bathe or while you are menstruating. Here, the author separated that. So he put what you cannot do without wudu in a section for wudu. So it's like he just completed the whole chapter of wudu for you. He gave you the integrals of wudu, then the recommendations of wudu, then the invalidators of wudu, then the things you cannot do without wudu, and then he moved on. So here we are. He says, section, forbidden for whoever invalidated his wudu is prayer. So you can't pray without wudu, without purification. Wudu is the purification for lifting the minor impurity. You know, there's two types of impurity: major impurity and minor impurity. The minor impurity is lifted by wudu. So you're going to wash certain limbs. The major impurity is lifted by full body bath, whether the water comes over you or whether you submerge yourself in the water. So prayer, and when we say prayer here, we mean the salat, not dua, not just supplication. Okay, that's clear. Obligatory prayer or voluntary prayer. Now, unless you are in a situation where you're unable to make purification, if you are unable to perform purification, then the Shafi'i school is that you will pray on time. You can't let the time go out without prayer because you have to honor the time. And then you're going to make it up later when you have the ability to make purification. When we say you can't make purification here, this means you lack water and soil. Because if you lack water, you're going to make tayammum with soil and then pray. If you lack water and soil, both, they're called the two purifiers, water and soil. They are the two purifiers. If you lack both of them, then you will pray without missing the time, so to honor the time, and then make it up later when you get access to one of those purifiers. With the detail about tayammum, we'll see when we get there, inshallah. Question: if you make tayammum, then have water later, do you need to make it up? That's why I just said with a detail when it comes to tayammum. So since you asked me, if a person prayed because he lacked both purifiers, water and soil, not because, but he prayed although he lacked both purifiers, so he had to pray out of the emergency of honoring the time. Then later he was able to access soil in particular, not water, does he have to make tayammum now and make up that prayer? That depends on the detail of tayammum. Because sometimes when you make tayammum, you're still going to have to make up your prayer. Sometimes when you make tayammum, you're still going to have to make up your prayer. Sometimes when you make tayammum, you're going to pray on time with your tayammum and still make it up later. Like if you make tayammum in a spot that usually has water. If you make tayammum in a spot that usually has water, you're going to have to make that prayer up. So here's our scenario here. A person didn't have water or soil. Then he prayed, knowing he's going to have to make it up. When he's able to access one of the two purifiers. But then he was able to access soil in a land that usually has water. Now he still doesn't have to make up his prayer yet. Because if he were to make tayammum and pray, he's going to have to make it up anyway. He says circling the Kaaba. Yes, whether it's an obligatory circling or an optional one. It's not permissible without wudu. The Prophet ﷺ said that tawaf has the station of salat. So, yani, wudu. Yes. Tawaf has the station of salah. However, Allah permitted speaking during the tawaf. That's what the Prophet said, alayhi salatu wassalam. Meaning, circling the Kaaba is like performing salat. He said, but there's a difference that Allah made it permissible to talk while you circle the Kaaba. While it's not permissible to talk, yani in ordinary, normal talk, while you pray. And the Prophet continued to say, alayhi salatu wassalam, and anyone who did talk while circling the Kaaba, let him only speak with goodness. So when he said that circling the Kaaba has the station of prayer, bimanzilati salah, it's like prayer, then this proves that circling the Kaaba requires wudu, requires the removal of najasa, requires covering the awra, like the prayer. Okay. Then he said, touching the book of the Quran. Here it says the book of the Quran to refer to the word mushaf. Because really, when you say Quran, that doesn't mean in particular the physical hard copy book only. The word Quran refers to what you recite by your tongue. That's Quran. What you memorize in your heart is Quran. What's written in the scripture is Quran. So that's why it doesn't just say here touching the Quran. It could mean that though, because saying touching the Quran. Okay, so then it would mean the book. Well, it says the book here. The book of the Quran in the Arabic says Masul Mushaf, touching the Mushaf. That's what the Muslims decided to call the hard copy, the Mushaf. You said, so if one didn't have wudu, they can't recite the Quran. Yes, you can recite Quran if you don't have wudu. So let me repeat what I was saying. The way it's written here in the document says touching the book of the Quran. Why is it worded like that? Why isn't it just worded as touching the Quran? Because in the Arabic, he uses the word mushaf, massul mushaf. So if we write into the English translation, touching the mushaf, that would be valid, but maybe someone doesn't know what that means if he were just to read the English. Touching the mushaf. Yani, we can even put that in parentheses. Yani, or put mushaf, not in parentheses. Touching the mushaf. And then put the book of the Quran in parentheses. Or the Quran book. Or a copy of the Quran. is what's intended here. As for what you recite with your tongue, that's called Quran too. And what you have in your heart, that's called Quran too, which you've memorized of the Quran, Surah Al-Fatiha, Ayat Al-Kursi, etc. That's all Quran. But we're talking here about a copy of the Quran, a mushaf. Can't touch it without wudu. It's clear? Or carrying it, touching it or carrying it like even in a bag, according to Imam Ash-Shafi'i. When we say you cannot carry the mushaf in a bag without wudu, we mean carrying the bag with the intention of carrying the mushaf. But if you are carrying the bag with the intention of carrying your luggage, meaning your stuff, like you have mushaf in there, you have other things in there, other books in there, and pencils and whatever else, papers, I don't know what else you have in there, things you need, calculator, etc., etc. You have your stuff in the bag, and one of the things you have in the bag is a mushaf. Then, if you want to carry this bag with the intention of carrying the mushaf, then you need wudu. But if you want to carry this bag with the intention of carrying all of your stuff, then you don't need wudu, even if there's a mushaf in there. That's the Shafi'i school. And according to the Hanafi school, you can carry the Quran in a bag without wudu, even with the intention of carrying the Quran. Or touching a board that has Quran written on it for study. It says a lawh, a board, yani a tablet. But I'm not talking about electronic tablets that we have today and phones with Quran display in the glass. What we learned is that this does not have the same judgment as a board in the more traditional sense, or a tablet in a more traditional sense. Meaning, tablet means you might have something made of stone or the like, something that you write on it. You hold it in your hand and you write on it with a piece of chalk, for example. And then, especially in some old towns and some villages where the people study, yani they teach their children in the schools. Maybe they have dirt floor and the children sit there on the floor or on a carpet on the floor, and they have little handheld personal boards, tablets that they write on, and have a piece of chalk and have maybe a rag with some water so they can wipe the board off to write a new lesson on there. So this is the one that the author is talking about. If you have Quran on there, or mostly Quran, then you cannot carry that without wudu. And the same thing for any other book. If it's mostly Quran, you cannot carry it without wudu. If it's not mostly Quran, you can, like some book you might have, a book of knowledge. Let's say the summary of obligatory knowledge. That one has some Quran written in there, here and there. It has the ayah in there, wa ahallallahu al-bay'. That's written in there. And it has in there, laysa kamithlihi shay'. But the vast majority of what's written in there is not Quran, so you don't need wudu to carry that. And these boards, by the way, in some cultures, they might erase the board by spitting on it. What's the judgment of erasing the board by spitting on it? So that you know. If they are not spitting directly on the name of Allah, such as if they spit, let's say, into the rag and then wipe it, it's not blasphemy. Shaykh Abdullah said that when he was growing up, though, they used water. They didn't use saliva. But some people, maybe they use saliva. They spit into a rag, for example, or maybe they spit to the side and then wipe the board down. It's not blasphemy unless the person is, for example, spitting directly on the name of Allah. Yeah, he's aiming for the name of Allah. That's going to be blasphemy. That's why the scholars said, or some of them said, in some cases of putting respectable words in contact with disgusting material, We need to observe whether the one who's doing that has a malicious intention in some cases. In some cases, we need to observe whether he has a malicious intention, yani has a bad intention to do by doing so. Because it's possible that someone would put respectable words in contact with disgusting material without, on purpose, without a malicious intention. And this is an example here. Like in some places where the students have personal handheld boards and they wipe the board off with saliva. It's not blasphemy. The author says it is permissible to carry it in luggage. That's what I already told you. Or on coins. Yes, if there's Islamic coins and they have minted on those coins or printed on those coins, for example, Qul huwa Allahu ahad or something like that, you can carry those coins without wudu. And also what? The hirs that you can wear for protection. It has Quran written on there. You don't need wudu to carry that. And you can take it into the bathroom if it's covered up. Cover it up. It has Quran written on there and it's covered up. You can take it into the bathroom. There's no sin. Cover it with leather. Cover it with cloth. Cover it with wax. All of that's valid. And the author says, and it is permissible for the discerning child to carry and touch it for study. Meaning the child who has reached mental discerning, which is usually around 7 lunar years old. That's about 6.5 years old. 6.5 solar years old. Your average child will be mumayyiz, having mental discerning, at about 6.5 solar years. That's 7 lunar years. And sometimes before that, and sometimes if someone is slow after that. There are reports of Muslim children who reached mental discerning as early as 3 years old. It is permissible for the discerning child to carry and touch the Quran for study, not for another reason. Any question? Yeah, and some of those Muslim children, they became umayyiz like 5 years old. That's still pretty good. If you have a child like that, take advantage. That's the stuff of scholars there. You have a child who's mumayyiz, 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old, take advantage here. That's the stuff of scholars. There was one scholar, he was talking about when he was a little kid. He said when he was little, I don't know how old he was though. He might have been, I don't know what, 5 years old or something. He memorized the Quran. And he was taken to the hadith scholars so that he could start hearing the hadiths. So some of the hadith scholars are like, no, he's too young. They didn't accept. And one of them, he said, one of them tested me. He told me, recite Surah such and such. Maybe he said Al-Kafirun. So he said, I recited it. Then another, he told him, recite Surah such and such. So he recited another one. Then he was told, recite Surah Al-Mursalat. So he said, I recited everything they told me to recite and I didn't make any mistakes. So one of the big sheikhs said, let him hear the hadiths. I will be responsible for him. So this how he started getting into the knowledge. Now the author says, Fasl section. Whoever enters the lavatory. So the Arabic word is khala, al-khala. So it means place of solitude. You're going to be alone. So this lavatory here might be connected to your building, might be right in your house, a room for using the bathroom, or it might be separated. All has the same judgment here. Whoever steps into the lavatory should advance his left foot. Step in with the left foot. And don't be oblivious to these sunan. Some people don't think twice. Left foot, right foot, what? Put the hands on the knees when you pray, lift the finger, what? None of it's, nothing the sunnah registers in their minds. So this is, maybe this is a weakness of faith. So I remind you and myself, do all the sunnahs. And they are beneficial. It's not merely just doing something the religion said. You'll find gives you more self-awareness. You register for yourself, which are doing with your right hand, which are doing with your left hand, which are doing with your right foot, which are doing with your left foot, etc. How you are looking, how you are turning your head, all of yourself. Whoever enters the lavatory should advance his left foot, and when he exits, his right. So here, the author, he wants to talk about the manners of using the bathroom. And he started by not mentioning the obligatory things. So he started by sunnah things, voluntary things, recommended things. It is recommended for whoever enters the lavatory to advance his left foot, and when he exits, to advance his right foot. Don't skip it though. He should not carry the mentioning of God, exalted is He, or the name of His messenger, or the Quran, yani, into the lavatory. Otherwise, yani, what it means here is in the open. If it's a mushaf, then you leave the mushaf out of the bathroom. No problem, yani. Just put it down and go into the bathroom. If it's a ring or if it's a hirs the person has, or necklace or something, then cover it. If it's a ring, turn it so that you can close the name of Allah into your palm, or the name of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. Or if it's a necklace, tuck it into your shirt, for example. But if it's one of the huruz, it's a hirs and it's already covered, it's concealed in a leather pouch or the like, you don't have to do more. It's already covered. You don't have to leave it out of the bathroom. He should cover his head. Sunnah for the one who wants to use the bathroom to cover his head. It's a good reminder there. Some of these slip me. And go far away, like if he's out in the open, he's in the woods, went to camp, or something like this, or they're traveling. Should go away from the people so they don't hear him or smell him. And cover himself. Cover himself like go behind a tree, go behind a wall, go behind like that. Put up something. Put up a sheet, for example. By the way, what if you are with someone in the same room with someone who needs to uncover, someone that you're not allowed to see the nakedness of this one, and you're in the same room with this one? How do you do that? Let's say, yani, it's other than your spouse, so sibling or the like, or two brothers are together or two sisters are together in the same room, and one of them needs to change. It's not enough to close your eyes. That's not enough. Not yani. When I say not enough, means not permissible. That's not enough just to close your eyes. So what do you do if you're not going to leave out the room? Uh, Pull up something like a sheet or a shawl. It's going to basically be a screen. Put up a screen. Even if you're holding it up with your hands, that's enough. You can put up the screen, and it's better to put the screen behind your back. You're going to be the one holding the screen. The other one's going to be changing his clothes. Put the screen, you're holding the screen up, so you imagine your arms are up. Then this sheet which is the screen, is behind you, so it means you have your back to the person. You have your back to the person, and you're holding up this screen. This is enough. So, for example, if the two of you are in the bathroom and one of you is uncovered behind the shower curtain, that's valid. The author says he should not urinate in still water. Still water means not flowing water. If it's his own water, that's still water. If it's his own water, that's disliked. If it's someone else's water, it's haram, without permission. But still shouldn't do it, because this ruins the water. Or at the least makes the water undesirable. But we're not talking about a toilet here. Why are we not talking about a toilet here? Because a toilet is prepared for that purpose. We're not talking about that. We're talking about some other water, like there's a bucket of water. or the likes of that, or some puddle of water, not specifically prepared for relieving yourself, then if it's still water, not flowing water, not running water, then don't urinate in there. And especially don't defecate in there. It will be disliked or haram. Disliked if it's your own water, haram if it's someone else's water and he doesn't accept. Yani, you didn't get the permission. You asked me to repeat. You mean repeat what I said about the person uncovering in the same room? Oh, it's okay. Okay. Nor should one urinate in flowing water that is only little. A little bit of flowing water. What does little bit of water mean? In the Shafi'i school, a little bit of water is less than 2 kullets of water. Less than 2 kullets. One, yani, one kullah or kullet of water. No, let me say 2 kullets of water is about 50 something gallons, but you might not use gallons. I don't know if people outside of the United States use gallons, but you would use liters. How many liters is that? That like 190 liters or something? I don't remember. 2 kullets. So 2 kullets in the Shafi'i school is a lot of water. Less than 2 kullets is a little bit of water. If it's running water, but only a little bit of water, still don't urinate in there. And more so, don't defecate in there. Because it renders the water disgusting. Nor into a hole. Do not urinate or defecate into a hole or a crack. A hole or a crack. A hole is like is round and it goes down into the ground. A crack is long and goes down into the ground. Yani, a fissure, crack, crevice. Why? Because could be that there's a creature in there. And if you urinate in there, you will harm it. Or it might even come out and harm you. And it could be that that's the home of a jinn. And that if you urinate in there, he will come out and harm you. Like what happened to one of the companions. And he was one of the big companions. He went to urinate somewhere. He urinated into a hole. Then he fell down dead. And then they heard a voice without seeing who's speaking, saying that that was a jinn, that he urinated into the home of that jinn. So be mindful about that type of stuff. One of the brothers, he said he was, he learned. So he said he was at a bridge. He needed to urinate. Say he urinated over the bridge. He was afraid. He didn't want to urinate on a jinn or something. MashaAllah. Doesn't seem anything happened to him. Nor urinate into the gust of wind. Why? Because maybe the urine's going to blow back on you. So don't urinate into the wind. Nor in sought shade. Sought shade meaning in the summertime, people seek the shade for relief from the sun. And if it were the winter time, then a sunny spot. Don't urinate in the sunny spots. Don't urinate in the shade, the sought shade in the summertime, and don't urinate in the sunny spots in the wintertime. Nor in the pathway, where people walk. Don't urinate or defecate where the people walk. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wa ala alihi wasallam said, refrain from the 2 dammers. He said, what are the 2 dammers, O Messenger of Allah? He said, the one who urinates in the people's shade or in the people's pathway. What this means is, if someone urinates in the people's shade or in their pathway, they send curses upon him. They say, damn him, curse him. So you don't want curses upon you. La'na. What's the curse? The la'an. It is to be banished from goodness. So you don't want to be damned or cursed. Then if you are damned or cursed, then maybe nothing will work for you. Nothing works out for you. You fail at everything. And maybe wherever you go, the people find roaches. This type of thing. Allahu Alam, you don't want to be that one. Roaches and mice and the likes. He said, nor under a fruit-bearing tree. Don't urinate under a fruit-bearing tree. All of these places, when we say don't urinate there, then more so don't defecate there. So I'm going to make it easy on myself. Say don't urinate there, and you know it means, and more so don't defecate there. Nor urinate under a fruit-bearing tree. Why? Because people go to the tree to get the fruits, and they're not going to want to. Or perhaps the fruits will fall down from the tree and then land in the najasa, and then no one will eat it. Nor should he speak. That's an excuse not to return someone's salam, that you are relieving yourself at the moment. We talk about while the excrement is literally coming out of you, don't speak to anyone unless you have a reason, like you're saving a blind person from walking into a hole, stumbling into a hole, or saving someone from a snake or a scorpion that is creeping towards him. So you needed to speak while the excrement is coming out. Then you have an excuse. And he should clear the urethra from urine. This is called in Arabic istibra. The urethra, that's the tube in the penis that the urine flows in from underneath. It's sunnah to clear the urethra from urine. That means for the man to run his finger uh, uh, over this urethra to push out any remaining urine. That's sunnah, unless you know that if you don't do it, you will stain yourself or your clothing. If you know that you will stain yourself or your clothing, if you don't do this istibra, then it's obligatory. And when entering, one says, Bismillah, Allahumma a'inni, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-khubuthi wal-khaba'ith. In the name of Allah, O Allah, indeed I seek refuge with you from the wicked male and female devils. Because they like the places of filth. Be mindful of the filthy, dirty places. There's devils there likely. But not the Muslim jinn. The Muslim jinn don't like those filthy, dirty places. And when he leaves, that's when he's stepping out with his right foot. When he goes in, he's stepping in with his left foot, and he says this before he gets inside. When he leaves, so he's stepping out with his right foot, he says, غُفْرَانَكَ الحمد لله الذي أذهب عني الأذى وعافاني. I seek your forgiveness. غفرانك. Praise be to Allah who removed the waste from me or the excrement from me and relieved me. But interesting thing here. He didn't mention anything about the obligatory procedure of istinja here. I don't know how that happened. You learned the book of obligatory knowledge, so you know that istinja is performed either by using water or by wiping. If you use water, you pour water over the soiled area until it's completely cleared. And if you're using your hand to clear the najasa off of yourself, it's a condition that the water is pouring at the same time. You can't put your hand into the najasa without the water pouring at the same time. That's haram. If you are wiping, then you know that you have to wipe in an uprooting fashion. and wipe at least 3 times using 3 different sides of whatever you're using. And the thing you're using has to be solid, not like a clump of dirt that breaks apart easily if you squeeze it a little bit. Has to be dry, not like a wet baby wipe, or as people call them, or something like that. Has to be pure, not filthy, not like deer feces that's hard like a rock. Has to be unrespectable, so not a religious paper, and not human food. And also, if the urine goes past the head of the penis, then you have to use water for whatever went past the head of the penis. Can't wipe it. It's not valid. Or if the feces gets to the outside of the buttocks, then you have to use water for whatever got to the outside of the buttocks. That's for a man or a woman. The outside is what is apparent when you stand up. Meaning, when you squat, the cheeks of the buttocks open. They spread apart. When you stand, they close back together again. So if the feces gets to the outside, then you have to use water for whatever got to the outside. And for the vagina, if the urine gets to where the 2 minor vaginal lips come together, if the urine gets there, then you have to use water. You have to wipe at least 3 times if you are wiping. You can wipe even if you have water, but water is better than wiping. If wiping 3 times is not enough, then you have to wipe as many more times as you need, until the only thing left is a trace that could only be removed by water. Until the only thing left, you'll have to wipe until the only thing left is a trace that could only be removed by water or small pieces of clay. So that's interesting that he didn't mention any of the obligatory aspects of istinja here. MashaAllah. Let's stop there. Wallahu a'lam. Any question? So in the book of obligatory knowledge, these details are not mentioned because it's not obligatory. And in other books that are bigger than mere obligatory knowledge, they mention the obligatory aspects of istinja with the likes of this information here. Here he just mentioned the sunan, the adab, the etiquettes of the one who relieves himself without mentioning the obligatory aspects of istinja. All right. MashaAllah. Then we'll stop here, inshallah. We'll pick up next week, bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. You're welcome. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك